Guess wherever you are on this earth of ours, drawn, pulled, connected to ground, our one home, all manifesting within this one heart. Welcome. Blessings on this day. While some others are arriving, let's use this opportunity to remember use this opportunity as an occasion for honoring what is worthy of honor, for remembering what we cherish, what is sane making, what is healing, what is illuminating, remembering what in the teachings of the Buddha is called refuge, place of safety, a trustworthy place. When we're aware, we're connecting to how it actually is, rather than making our refuge an imagination, a fantasy. When we align with that centrality, that deep Buddhic, awakened centrality of awareness of how it is, beginning with this, what the Buddha called the first foundation of awareness, the bodily resonance, aware of our here and now experience of this body. Sitting, if that's the posture we're in, or whatever posture we're in. But if we're sitting, sensing how this body is touching ground, being pulled by ground. And how this body-mind is blessed, continually supported and blessed by breath. The offering from the trees, with long, mindful, slow in and out breaths, receiving that gift from the plant kingdom. We breathe in, feeling that vitalizing, brightening essence. And those long out breaths, breathing in and out, on the long out breaths, softening the forehead, the jaw, the shoulders, the muscles down through the body from the crown of the head to the soles of our feet. And on those long out breaths, allow the posture to subtly adjust so that we're holding the sense of the body in relationship to the pull of gravity, pull of earth. If we're sitting, there'll be a micro adjustment so that we're not leaning too much forward, too much back, to the left and right. We're finding that centrality, upright but not rigid, where the body is in alignment with the pull. Where that axis mundi, that deep centrality of from the crown of the head down through the body, down into the center of the earth. On those long out breaths, letting go of any unnecessary effort. We allow the body to align with earth. Then we partake of earth's immeasurable depth and stability, deep vibratory resilience and power. Relaxing on that out breath so that this little body is aligned, connected to the measureless ground, by grounding, is steadying for the body. And as we steady the awareness of the sensation of sitting, breathing, relaxing, appreciating the sacred alchemy that happens when we return to these fundamental principles of awareness of how it is. This is also steadying for the mind. The mind is steadied on the sensation of breathing in and out. The body is comforted, soothed, blessed by being welcomed by the mind, body, mind, connected. And from this place of presence, let's doing some recitation, special sort of recitation, what the Buddha called puja. Sometimes translated as chanting, but chanting can just be something the mouth does. Puja means to honor. And the Buddha talked about the technology of when we honor, when we recite what is worthy of honor, when we're honoring something truly worthy, when there's that attitude of reverence, of opening to, aligning with, that there's the result is auspicious energy. It generates blessings. The way the Buddha said it was puja, chapujaniyanang etam mangalamuttama, honoring what is worthy of honor, generates the highest blessing. So as we recite, and I think there's a link, I think our dear in the background, Michael, is, I think, putting a link to the chanting book at the top of page 3. There's the honoring of the Buddha. So if we could have the link to the chanting book in the chat, hope it will appear. Top of page 3, honoring the Buddha in that ancient way, Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Namo is, I return my life. It's a wonderful word. It's that attitude as one chants of softening, not gripping, but honoring. To turn the life to what? To the Blessed One. What's the Blessed One? What blesses is the energy of listening, the energy of awareness of how it is. That blesses. And then these qualities of the Buddha, Arahato Sammasambuddhasa, the worthy one, far from affliction, fully awakened. Then on page 4, we'll recite the qualities of the Triple Jewel. Just as we're chanting, just letting the awareness enjoy just the vibration in the body, carried on the breath, that energy, letting it permeate our body, resonate out around us. The Buddha said this auspicious energy not only is protective for what we call me and mine, what is around us, but also as we dedicate, we allow this energy to resonate, then it's for the welfare of the world, of all beings. May it help allay violence and peace. We dedicate our chanting for peace. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. And on the next page. Kittisaro bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijacalana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro apurisattama saharatissa tam devamanus Bhutto bhagavati savakato bhagavata dhammo santitiko akaliko ehipasiko panayiko pajatam vetitabo yuhi tisupatipano bhagavato Savakasamko Ujjupatipano Bhagavato Savakasamko Yayapatipano Bhagavato Savakasam Mijipatipano Bhagavato Savakasanko Yatitang Chatari Purisa Yuganeya Tapurisa Pugala Esu Bhagavato Savakasanko Ahunayo Pahunayo Dagenayo Anjali Kalaniyo Anuttaram Punyageta Lokasati. The second mantra, at the bottom of the page 3, holding the name of Kuan Yin, the greatly compassionate one, who listens at ease to the sounds of the world. Namo Guan Shiryin Pusa. As we chant, aligning with that great awakened one, compassionate one, that which holds all forms in cherishing, healing, compassion. As we merge with that through deep listening and dedicate this deep listening, may this act, this truth action, the truth of aligning with aware, compassionate presence, may that emanate in all directions for the welfare of all. Namo Kuan Yin Pusa Namo Kuan Yin Pusa Mo Quan Yin Pusa Nam Mo Quan Chư Yin Pu Sa Hay Na Mo Quan Chư Yin Pu Sa Hay Na Mo Quan Chư Yin Pu Sa Hay Na Mo Quan Chư Yin Pu Sa. Listening into the resonance, appreciating the vibratory quality of the field after our recitation and honoring what is worthy. Getting to know our energy, getting to know the effect when we do a chant and honoring an alignment with something universal, measureless, wisdom, the knowing of how it is, the awareness of how it is, that connection. Is a measureless quality. Spending a few minutes in our silent meditation, steadying the awareness with the body, sitting or whatever posture we're in, breathing. And allowing thought, if it's helpful, to be moderated, shortened to just a hint of a thought to remind us what we're doing. It can be Kuan Yin's name, which just means listening to the sounds. It can be Bhutto, the name of the Buddha. It just means awake. Bhutto means awake. One breathes in Bhut, breathes out To. Just an inner whispering to remind the heart that all there is to do is just to be with how it is, the simplicity of sitting, breathing, in touch with the experience. Deepening the relaxation on each out breath. The awareness being filled with the vibratory quality, the sensations of breathing in and out. Checking our intention is patient, kindly. May I be at ease with this moment. An inner whispering of the name of the Buddha or Guan Yin reminds the heart to be patient. May I be well with this moment, these feelings. That attitude of benevolence and kindness soothes, blesses, and heals the nervous system. Let's just take a minute or two to stretch, and then I will take this opportunity to share some Dharma reflections. So, greetings. And thank you for joining us here on Sacred Mountain Sangha platform, wherever you are. We're sharing this earth, we're sharing this mind. I'm enjoying reading your names and seeing friends and those I know, those I don't know, and just offering a big welcome. Uh, Gratitude that we're here, that I'm still breathing. I've been quite tired these days. I'm on my winter break from my university studies, which I've cherished at Dharma Realm um, Buddhist University yeah, up in Northern California, Ukiah. And over the winter break, it's wonderful to be home with Kittisaro, but also I've just noticed how tired I am. But I've had some time to recuperate and just in a world that's so fraught with challenges and perils, grateful for this breath, so grateful for these practices, these reflections, that these orientations that help us remember what is true, what is trustworthy, what is conducive to harmony, freedom from remorse, the cessation of hostilities and contention and violence. So I'm grateful. And thank you for taking the time. May this time together be a blessing for your own body, mind, your own system, that you may deepen your own skill at recuperating so that we can be present to take on as ably as possible the challenges that each of us is working with in our lives. But just remembering that we share this common, sacred, universal ground. When we lose touch with that deep, Buddhic, awakened, conscious root, what the Buddha called root, R-O-O-T, ground. The Buddha even called it Tathagata Garbha. He called it a womb, this primordial matrix womb, from which manifestation appears, dissolves, returns, moment after moment. When we lose touch with that fundamental ground, then consciousness, this is what's called avidya, not seeing clearly. Consciousness takes the particularity of the manifestation, this body, this mind, this group, this view as me. It concretizes it. It creates a distinction that is separate, that is essentialized as a thing. And then because of the ever-changing nature of Dhamma, then we have to bring the notion of time into account for the shift. But this separative consciousness, the difficulty is that living beings can lose touch with this truth of our kinship, truth that we are of essentially one substance, one essence. Without that remembrance, we lose touch with the natural, inherent source of compassion about me and you and mine and what's right and what's wrong, cast out into the outer darkness. So for me, these moments of pausing help us remember these essential principles, because our patternings, our wounded, confused, habituated over decades and lifetime, revolving around this separation, is we get entangled in all sorts of discouragement, desire, aversion, resentment, rage, devastation. That's even from our own patternings, not to mention what's happening around us. So I'd like to talk a little bit today about something that's very precious to me, and something which I think is really helpful for this rejuvenating, this technology of remembering. I know this isn't the true etymology of the word remember, but it's informative, as opposed to dismember, that which dismembers, that which fractures. To remember, realign. When we're practicing mindfulness, awareness of these disparate pieces of our existence, of life. And the Buddha encourages us to begin with the bodily form, the sensation. Then the conscious dimension is aligned with the sensation of our body. That's a remembering, realigning what can be fractured. We can just unconsciously react, be pulled around by emotions and impulses and instincts and fears. This remembering, this remembering is a healing. It allows the disparate pieces to be reconnected and the imbalances to be homogenized, to be the elements to intermingle in balance. This is what the Buddha, one of the purposes of, one of the functions of the second training, the Eightfold Path of Awakening. You can think of it in terms of three trainings the Buddha taught. The first foundation is this ethical training of refraining from harming. That those are these precepts, which are great gifts, important part of the training, which is the foundation for awakening. And we practice this and also encourage those around us to abandon killing, abandon taking what doesn't belong, abandon dominating, exploiting. As we do that, then we're not, the Buddha said that's a gift, the great gift, because countless beings around us can breathe more easily when we're doing that restraint. The second training, which is made more possible out of that ethical foundation, is the training of samādhi, the gathering, the steadying. One of the functions of samādhi is that the Buddha said it's healing. The language the Buddha used was it's learning how to cultivate a pleasant abiding in the here and now. Sometimes our abiding is fraught with worry, restlessness, anxiety, reactivity. That's not a pleasant abiding. One of the functions of samādhi, this gatherness, is to allow the bodily energies to balance. And that when the mind is resting on the body more at ease, it's more easy for the mind to rest and settle and gather, and then body, mind become connected. This first function, samādhi. An important one. As over the months, years, decades of our practice, we get more skilled at how to retune, recharge, rebalance the body-mind. That's a blessing in and of itself, that's not harming anybody when we pause and listen and appreciate and stabilize and relax. That's not exploiting anybody. And there's an alchemy that happens as we get to know ourselves. When we do that, our bodily resonance and the moods change. It's blameless. When I first started practicing, I wished I could just stay there all the time. But those states are impermanent, but still the energy, the healing, the blessing of those states are very important for help us then meet more clearly, with more resilience, more capacity to respond appropriately, easily to the duties, the offerings, the activities of our life. Second huge blessing of samadhi is that when the mind is more composed, it sees things the way they are. So when we then turn the composed mind to the way it is, what is this? That mind will see the nature of things. Primarily when the mind is not in samadhi gathered, then worries or I'm worried, doubts, fears, things that seem we have to have them, the passions of the obsessions of the lusts of the mind. When there's no real true samadhi, then that glittery thing that we feel like we just have to have, or the thing that we hate, have to get rid of, they all seem so real. When our mind is more composed in the changing nature of sound and feeling and thoughts, we notice that the sound of my voice is vibratory. The concepts, the moods, the flow of thoughts and impulses, we start to recognize their ephemeral, essentially empty of solidity nature. So that's the second deep, or not the second, it's the ultimate use of samadhi, is then to illuminate the nature of things, so it liberates. I wanted to talk about one of the skillful means, just for a few minutes, in samadhi that's so helpful in developing samadhi, is holding a sacred name. Sacred name was the first teaching that Ajahn Chah taught me in Thailand was be with your breathing. He said, if you try to understand everything, you might not understand anything thoroughly. But he said, if you understand one thing well, you'll understand everything. So he wanted me to learn a simplicity of being with something simple, breathing in and breathing out. You can really learn how to be simple, relax and be with that. You understand one thing well, you understand everything. Sometimes when we try to understand everything, when we don't have samadhi, we get overwhelmed by all the things to do, and we're doing this and doing that, and we're spinning our wheels. I am, at least. So learning how to skillfully know when it's time to just go simple. Even we learn how to get able to do this in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a short time to realign, recharge. Now, one of the skillful things Ajahn Chah added, which is a very popular principle in Thailand, the Thai forest tradition, was to add a sacred word with the being, with the breathing. Budto, B-U-D, as you breathe in, DHO as you breathe out. Buddho is the name of the Buddha. But we're not talking about historical Buddha. Yes, and he's a Buddho too, but Buddho is in the case. It's in the grammatical form of the nominative case. It means this awakened one that we're using in this moment, this awareness. And the word is mingled with the sensation of breathing in. It's just a whisper. So this is a moderation of thought, but it's also a reminding us that in the midst of all this that we call Kittisaro, that you call how you conceive of yourself, having Bhutto, or we can also use Kuan Yin's name, we'll get to that in a minute, is reminding us that the essence of all this is awakening. But usually we're thinking all sorts of thoughts, caught up in all sorts of disparate imagining. This is when you hold a sacred name, it's a not any old thought, it's a vitaka, it's a special sort of thought, a thought that's for a use. It's a directed thought. It helps direct us back here now. It's not a big strain, just a hint of Buddha. Then the sensations of our body are still there, but we allow the Buddha to mingle with the sensations too. So rather than relying on lots of different thoughts, we're just letting one thought. That can be really helpful. And that thought, it's still engaging the cognitive capacity, but because it's short, it's there for a moment. And then when it dissolves, it's inviting us to then what's called vichara, to receive. The texture of what is it like to be awake in this moment. So to be with the actual sensations of breathing in and breathing out. Those sensations that are perfectly interwoven with this wakefulness. Because our refuge is this, that short Bhutto encourages us to relax. This is our home. When we're lost in compulsive thinking, our home is trying to get to an answer. I figured this out and I figured that out. And what about that? I'm not sure about that happening. That's a shaky place. It's a stressful place. It's a return. We're finding that shaky place is imagining I'm going to get to some answer, some safety, some figuring it all out. That's endless. It's called samsara. Bhutto, with the breath, awareness of the resonance of the breath, the Buddha, and we allow the sound to end as we then merge with that, what the Bhutto is pointing to. Bhutto is just a sound, but that sacred name, this is one of the names, qualities of the Buddha. It's one of the qualities of all Buddhas, all bodhisattvas, all saints and sages. Aren't saints and sages without Bhutto? Buddha. And to savor the gap right after Buddha, it's a door opens as it invites the heart to merge and rest with awakening, wakefulness, to, Buddha, to, Buddha. Let the sensations be what they are. We're just listening, being with them. But the Buddha reminds us we don't have to think big heroic thoughts. We can be so simple. The sacred name appears constellates over time when you get used to working with a sacred name. All sacred names point back to this ground. I love Bhutto. Also, I didn't know about this until later in monastic life, and then got so sick and heard about the wonderful Chinese master, Master Xinhua, who talked about the power of another Bhutto, a great bodhisattva, an awakened one committed to awakening others, the bodhisattva of compassion, Guan Yin. In fact, learning how to work with the sacred name of Kuan Yin, and we've chanted the sacred name of Kuan Yin in our little short recitation at the beginning, that second mantra on page 3, Namo Quan Sri Yin Pusa. Guan means to regard or listen, Yin means sound. Quan Sri Yin is listen to the sounds of the Shi, of the world. Pusa is short for Bodhisattva. But these are sounds. What I learned also from Master Xinhua was that one can have that sacred name just quietly running, infusing, mingling with the ordinary moments of life, reminding one to pause, relax, remembering that the refuge not out there, the refuge, the safe place, is this deep listening. Guess what? Bhutto and Kuan Yin, they point to the same ground. What I appreciated about Kuan Yin's name is there's a teaching in the Mahayana, the wonderful Dharma Pundarika Sutra. It's called the Lotus Sutra. In chapter 25 is all about Kuan Yin. And in that the Buddha, in that chapter, the Buddha's praising the power of Kuan Yin. One part of that says when we, let's see if I have that, where I have that written. It's one of the parts is if living beings who have much sexual desire or sensory desire constantly and reverently recite the name of Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, they will be separated from that. That desire will subside. Those who have much hatred constantly and reverently hold the name of Kuan Sri Yin Bodhisattva, they'll be separated from hatred. Those who are deluded constantly and reverently recite the name of Kuan Sri Yin Bodhisattva, they will be separated from delusion. And that chapter of Kuan Yin is called the bestower of fearlessness, because as these sacred words or phrases, when they encourage us to, rather than rely, grasping so much these branches, these ephemeral sights and sounds, losing touch with the root is endlessly stressful and source of dukkha. But a sacred name like Namo Quan Sri Yin Pusa or Bhutto reminds us to relax, to merge with the listening. Then, when the heart is not so confused by its imaginings, we're more open to receive the blessing. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas know intimately we're all of one substance. Their deepest wish is to help us. We can block that help by thinking, oh, that's impossible, with our worries and doubts. As we practice with sacred name and relax, it allows us more to be aware of and receive and be receptive to the auspicious energy that is always around us. Yes, there's malevolent forces in the world, but there are also incredibly auspicious, supportive energies which are here. When we hold a sacred name, not only do we align with this deep root, which is where all beings merge, where we merge with the saints and sages, Bhutto, Kuan Yin, but when we learn to let that be our home, our refuge, where we operate from, then we little by little become more receptive to that ground of support, which is always there, and guidance. The other wonderful thing about, well, to back up, in daily life, I love just having the mantra, Namo Quan Che Yin Pusa. It's like a subtle sound while I'm walking, while I'm making tea. If you're having to write something, you can't always hold a mantra. But that mantra reminds me not just to get lost in other thoughts. Each of those thoughts reminds me to keep remembering, to stay conscious of the underlying listening. Bhutto works the same way. The sound, the syllables come and go, but those syllables are pointing to the luminous, ever-present, underlying brightness, what the Buddha called the original brightness, the pure essence of consciousness, the true heart, whatever we want to call it, the primordial matrix, this tool of Dharma, sacred name, very important. I really encourage you to explore it. I love trying different sacred names. They all point back to this deep fundamental root. Each have different essences and energies, but they're all wonderful. And it can become a profoundly non-dual practice, because as one holds a name and that name dissolves, one's learning to allow the heart to abide without relying on a thought. Bhutto, Namo, Quan Che Yin Pusa, let that fall. And the heart then starts to remember that unsupported, ever-present suchness. So how ironic that holding a sacred name, which is a thought, a concept, is a tool for deeply entering the no thought, the non-conceptual, the undying samādhi. Well, I just wanted to offer some thoughts in practice. I feel we're so fortunate to know of a path, to have encountered the Buddha Dharma, to be able to know we can meet with fellow living beings like you that have a sense for the importance of living peacefully, following ethical precepts, cultivating that and gatheredness of mind, what's called samādhi, and liberating wisdom, and making the effort that our life blesses others. That wonderful bodhisattva intent dedicated to awakening and the awakening of all. So I really thank you all for being here, and may our efforts, may we truly get to know how our efforts bring peace to this body-mind, where may we taste how the little wars that happen in our body-mind can subside even a little through our practice. And may we trust that as we dedicate these efforts and remember that there's no real walls here, that we're all part of a interwoven sacred universe. May we dedicate our efforts for peace in the world, ceasefire, cessation of hostilities in Gaza, Israel, and all the other places where there's violence. May, as we wake up out of this spell, may we help through the sharing of that vibration of clarity and kindness and compassion. Joy and equanimity help wake all beings up. That's my wish. Your very presence here is a gift. May we share this gift right now as we relax with all, just even whispering Om Mani Padme Hum, Kuan Yin's heart mantra. Homage to the jewel at the heart of the lotus. May all beings wake up to the jewel of the pure heart, where we remember our deep kinship with all things and all beings. Thank you again, and for those who wish, I'll stay on 20 more minutes for conversation, but those who need to go, please be blessed. I'm sending big hugs to everyone. Also, I'm here by the grace of Sacred Mountain Sangha, so if, your presence is already a gift, a blessed gift, but if you want to make an offering to Sacred Mountain Sangha to help us do what we continue to do, you're welcome to do that. I think Michael will put links in. But just know I feel I started off really tired, and even just being with you, there's more vitality and certainly a warm feeling of the heart in me now. So, thank you.